Hello, hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and I am a fashion, wellness, and beauty enthusiast. We're gonna have to work on that intro. However, welcome back to another episode of Year of Prosperity, a project here on my channel where we are building the life that we want, not what society tells us we should want, and also that is easier for us. I was recently diagnosed with autism, and so I've been relooking at how I move about my day in the world, in my house. I'm just trying to make things as accommodating for myself as possible, but I also think some of what I'm doing can be applied to anyone in their lives, and I hope that you find this helpful. But today, we are going to be doing my no-buy rules and my wish list. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll stick around and hang out. But that said, let's get into the rules. All right, so I have my rules in my notes app. I'm probably going to try to pop them up on the screen. So I might be a little off center, but that's okay. We're gonna pop them up on the screen. What you need to know about my no-buy is that it's happening. We are on day 16 of it. It is January 16th at the time of filming this. And for right now, the no-buy is at least going 6 months. I might revisit it at that point and move to a low buy. And also know that my no-buy is going to be very different. When you do your own no-buy, it is really good to kind of sit down and write a few of the topics that we're going to cover. So let's talk about intentions. So my intentions for this no-buy, we kind of covered it in the Year of Prosperity intro video, which I will have the whole Year of Prosperity playlist linked down below. But the intentions for this, when I boil it down, is one, I want less stuff to mentally manage. So because of my neurodiversity and my neurospicy tendencies, when I have too much to manage mentally, that's where I start to kind of find it more difficult to do task initiation or task transition, because then my brain is just kind of flooded with, well, where did I put that thing? I'm going to have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. Instead of it just being one step of like picking up the moisturizer and putting it on, it's like, oh, well, now I have to go and dig through this drawer. And then my brain's just like, too hard. Do you know what I mean? So I want less stuff to mentally manage. I think there's also something to say here where they do say that your house kind of represents where you're at mentally. Cluttered house, cluttered mind, all of that, whether you believe that or not. I just kind of feel like I've accumulated enough stuff while we were kind of moving into this house and unpacking that it's just become so hard to manage and keep the environment that I like to keep. So for me, clutter and a lot of visual noise is overstimulating to me. So narrowing that stuff down is going to be indicative of a clutter-free mind, because I'm not spinning the to-do list in my head. I'm not thinking of all the steps to get to something. I know where it is, it lives there, it's done, and we're just kind of overflowing a bit. So that's intention number one. Intention number two is less stuff to physically manage. So tying into the first one. So mentally, we talked about how that can take a toll, but physically, a good example of this is laundry. It's very, very hard for me to keep up with laundry, and then I see that it just becomes this enormous pile, when in all actuality, I probably am only wearing a portion of my closet, and then I'm extending into things that I wouldn't normally wear because the other stuff isn't clean. And so I know I can narrow down my closet, and that's probably going to become a series on my channel this year. As I kind of clean through my closet, what stays, what goes, we'll go through all of that and then organizing it. But physically, that's just one example of many tasks where I just have too much stuff and it just piles up, and then it becomes a mountain of impossibility. Do you know what I mean? Then another intention, the third that I have, is to use what I have. We talk about this in empties all the time. I love using the products that I buy. It upsets me when I don't get to them and they've gone off. But that means that I want to use through what I have, and we'll get into that with some of the no-buy rules about replacements and things like that. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I just want to use what I have, but also outside of beauty, like into fashion. Some of that stuff that I'm not wearing might not be because I don't love it, but because I can't get to it or I can't see it. Again, object permanence. So I want to be able to use those things because if I like them, I want to be able to get to them and use them and enjoy them, all of those good things. Then number 4 is focus more on styling and my expression of creativity. So this ties into use what I have. It ties into all of these. These are very interconnected ideas, but the focus more on styling and expressing my creativity, when I tend to fall into a funk, it's because I no longer have the energies or spoons to give to that expression, but that expression is also what feeds back into my spoons. So if you are not aware of the spoon theory, we can do a whole video on that, but the TLDR is basically that you start the day with so many spoons. If you have chronic pain or chronic illness, some days you might start with less spoons than other days, and each kind of task takes a certain amount of spoons. So you have to learn how to budget and allocate where to spend those spoons. On the days where I don't have the spoon budget, essentially, to put towards that outward creativity, that outward expression of creativity for makeup and outfits, it's like a double-edged sword because that is an activity that would give me more spoons, but it also requires a decent amount of spoons. So I want to be able to build my environment, my house, my collections in a way that requires less spoons to take that action so that I'm giving back to myself and I'm expressing that creativity, and that creative energy is not getting like stuck inside. Do you know what I mean? Sounds simple, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves that it's important. And then my last intention is to read the books that I have. My to be read shelf is overflowing. There's no reason that I should be purchasing books until I've read my TBR, and my TBR currently could last me the rest of the year. We'll see. We'll see. But those are my intentions for this no-buy, so you kind of get an idea of where my head is at. I will say, like, the intent behind this no-buy is not necessarily as a result of feeling financial pressure. That's not the purpose of this no-buy. If that is something that is important to you, I totally understand. So you'll see that the emphasis is not necessarily on trying to save up as much money, although who wouldn't love to retire early? Do you know what I mean? You'll see that my rules are a little bendy, and that is because of that. So just know that going into this, it's not necessarily financially focused. It's more so mentally focused and making sure that I'm not adding to a problem that exists in terms of like being able to physically and mentally manage the things in my life. That said, now you know where I'm coming from. Let's get into the rules. So first we have no new makeup. I do not need any more makeup. My collection, I would say, is medium size compared to what I have seen on the internet in different spaces. I don't want to buy any new makeup. I will say that there's going to be one exception to this rule. If I am not sent the release, I will probably buy it. But other than that one exception that we'll talk about when the time is right, no new makeup. The second is no new skincare. Self-explanatory. There's nothing on my radar that I really want to try. We'll get into the exceptions to these rules in a second, but no new skincare. No new clothes. A couple of exceptions to this, we'll get into it, but no new clothes, thrifted or new. No new homewares. Again, we'll get into exceptions, but homewares meaning organizational tools, decor, anything like that, except for the exceptions. We'll get there. Takeout. No takeout with a couple of exceptions. I like cooking, and I just want to be eating healthier in terms of like not eating out. I want to make the food. Do you know what I mean? No books and no tea. I am a book and tea hoarder, and no more. And then I'm not going to say no. So this is not like a no. This is more so like a limit. So we're going to limit Starbucks, and we'll get into why that's a limit over a no buy. But that's what we're walking into the next 6 months with. Okay, so exceptions to the next 6 months. So for skincare, body care, I will be replacing empties once I've run through that category and no longer have a product that works for me in that category. I will be hard on myself, don't get me wrong, but if I'm down to one last body lotion and it's causing a reaction, we're going to replace it. Pretty self-explanatory. Same thing for makeup. I will replace empties once I've gone through that category, but I am going to allow myself specific colors. So condensate, the blush, that's my everyday blush. Even when I'm not filming, I mean, I did an analysis that we'll get into some other time, but I used that on camera when I was applying my makeup in like almost over 50% of those application videos. So if it's a specific color like that, I will allow myself to replace it if I use it up, but condensate is going to go bad before I use it up. It's like an endless pot of loveliness. Then I am still allowing my regular services. So I do nails, I do hair, and then I do lashes and brows, but I've only done them twice now, and I'm still trying to figure out like long term, do I want to invest in that? But I'm not counting those in this no buy. Then in terms of clothing stuff, I do anticipate a couple of needs this year. We'll see if we can wait until the end of the 6 months at least, but I need to replace underwear and bras, but I want to take the time to do research on which ones that I would like to replace them with. Let me know your favorite underwear that's like cottony, breathable, maybe seamless, or like no visible lines. Let me know. And then bras, I'd really like to find a good balconette style bra. I think that's the style that flatters me the most, but they're kind of hard to find. So yeah, let me know down below, but that is a purchase I'm anticipating this year, if not in the next 6 months. And then the only other thing in terms of like allowed purchases, I know that I'm going to need like a backpack for work and personal. We'll get into why in that video, but I already know which ones I'm going to purchase, so we will talk about that in another video, but I know that that's coming up. And then the last thing in terms of clothing is like, if I don't own anything for a specific occasion, I will allow something that is more so to give myself grace, because my size has been fluctuating quite a lot in the last year, especially. So if I don't have jeans and I have a work thing, I might need to get jeans. That's an example. I don't need jeans, but I will be hard on myself, and I do have a way that I'm keeping myself in check with all of this that we'll get into in my wish list video, but that's where I'm at with that. Then a couple of things, coffee or Starbucks, whichever. I am allowing that on my work from cafe days. That's really the only time during the week outside of maybe a workout or something that I leave the house. So taking that away from myself is not beneficial. You could almost look at it as like that replaces gas to my car, and leave it at that. And then we only have 3 more things. So eating out, takeout, scheduled date nights and takeout nights for like emergency situations or crazy schedule days I'm allowing. I just don't want it to become a habit that we continuously eat out. It's a waste of money. We could do better at home, all of that good stuff. Then purchases that impact health needs or extreme low spoon situations. Again, we'll cover this in my wish list. There's a way that I kind of keep myself honest here, and I'm really excited to share that with you, because I think it will help some of you if you're trying to check yourself and make sure that the purchase you're about to make makes sense.
Editing Rachel here. So I forgot to talk about the 1 Amazon order per month. So I know there are a lot of feelings about Amazon. I get it. I wish that I was strong enough to not utilize Amazon. However, I'm doing one Amazon order a month, and this is because those orders eventually start adding up, not just from a cost perspective, but stuff wise. So I want to build my cart. That way I'm kind of getting a snapshot at the end of the month of like, these are all the things I thought about, all the problems that I want to solve. So in order to keep them one problem per paycheck and not accumulating a bunch of stuff that I'm going to use for a short period or I might already have, I'm going to use it as building that cart to the month, then going through what I already own to see if I have things that I can use in place of new things. That will also help push me towards the decluttering rather than trying to solve for problems that might not exist after I do declutter my home. It just gives me a chance to pause, understand what it is that I'm trying to solve for, and then trying to find ways to solve it that might be not product driven. So I think what I was trying to say earlier in this video is not necessarily that this isn't financially driven. It's more so to say that it's a consumerism thing that I'm very fortunate has not impacted me financially, but has impacted me clutter wise. And so the focus on this is clutter and decluttering and making it easier to navigate my home, essentially. But that said, we'll get into the last bullet point.
And then lastly is I am considering using prizes for my declutter bingo cards that I've made, which we can get into in another video. But I don't know what those prizes would be. And I think I might use my husband for that. So he's like the commissioner, but we'll see. But those are the exceptions. It sounds like a lot, but again, this isn't as fiscally driven as it is stuff driven, if that makes sense. So those are my intentions, my rules, and my exceptions. Let me know your intention, rules, and exceptions down below. I think I'm going to end up breaking out my wish list as a separate video because I am going to talk a lot in that video, and this one is already feeling like a lot to process. So I will hopefully see you in the wishlist video. We will do that as a bonus video this Friday. And I hope that you're doing well. Let me know if you're doing a no-buy this year. How long is it? Your intentions, your rules, exceptions, all of the good stuff. Maybe mine might shift. You might have a good idea that I can apply to mine, vice versa. Let's start the conversation below. I can't thank you all enough for all of the comments so far in Year of Prosperity. I've already learned so much. I cannot wait to continue this throughout the year. I feel like we're learning a lot from each other. I'm seeing a lot of discussions, which is so fun, and thank you for being here. But I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you in the next one. And take care of yourself. You deserve it. You know what I mean? Just take care of yourself. And I'll see you then. Bye.